Christopher Simmons was a 17-year-old who planned and executed the murder of his neighbor, who was a 47-year-old woman. He was judged by the state of Missouri and he was sentenced to the death penalty. He was judged as an adult, but Simmons appealed and his case went all the way up until it reached the Supreme Court of Missouri and later the Supreme Court of the United States. And both of them decided that it was unconstitutional to execute a minor according to the Eighth Amendment, which talks about prohibiting cruel or unusual punishment. And they decided that executed minors was seen as cruel or unusual punishment. So they revoked the initial sentence and they gave Simmons life in prison. So the original sentence was by the lower courts and it was the death penalty, but then the Supreme Court of Missouri revoked that sentence and gave him life in prison without parole. So the legal and moral issue discussed here is whether if it's moral or constitutional to execute minors according to the Eighth Amendment. But the Supreme Court concluded that it was not, and there was a national consensus that was made in favor of this decision. And they also gave some arguments for this. They said that minors have less maturity, they are more vulnerable to certain negative influences, and they also have a higher chance of reforming or changing. So yeah, that was the final sentence. It was life in prison without parole. And if I was a judge in this case, I would also have given Simmons the life in prison without parole. According to Dworkin's theory of interpretivism, the law should be interpreted in order to identify its principle or its main base, its principle, and then this principle should be aligned with the respect of human dignity and human rights in order to morally progress as a society. So according to this theory, I would have taken into account the characteristics of Simmons. I would not judge him as an adult, and I would respect the consensus that was made because that represents that there's a change happening and they are taking steps towards a more humane system or towards moral progress. So that's why I would give him life in prison.